on the call alongside Chris Fowler is the face of college football and also the face of Thursday Night Football for the NFL. He kicks off each week on Amazon Prime alongside Al Michaels. Ladies and gentlemen, old baby Blue Eyes, former president of Ohio, Kirk Herbstreit.
Hey.
Sorry,
What's up, guys?
You caught the tail end of a tangent there about everybody saying Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were trying to make the Lions lose because they were focused on future jobs. We don't think that's true. This is normal operating procedure. But let's talk about Ryan Day quickly, and then we'll move into all the other ball conversations. This whole thing started because Ryan Day can now say to others and himself, I can win the big one. I can win the national championship. Do you think that respect is going to radiate through the state of Ohio and college football for him? And how long does that follow him or carry him? I told AJ last night, let's give Ryan Day a lifetime contract, the Ohio State, after winning the national championship. AJ said, I don't think that's how that works, but let's move forward. What do you think this does for Ryan Day after that big win, Herbie?
Well, you know how that, I mean, anytime you win a national championship, it's in the NFL, it's like winning the Super Bowl. You just go into a different galaxy. You go into a different stratosphere. And I don't think he was ever in trouble at Ohio State. You know, I think rational minds behind the scenes, president, athletic director, I mean, they're all in before this 4-game run. But, you know, what they put together is historic. I mean, it's the first 12-team playoff that we've seen. It's a team that's coming off a very, very heartbreaking loss. You guys, you know, obviously talked about this, and they talked about 4 games, getting to 4 games and it not being over. And it's pretty easy after you lose a 4th time to your rival to fall apart. Guys, move on, get ready for the league, do whatever you're going to do. And I'll tell you, Ryan Day did a great job, and I'm sure AJ would agree with this. If he didn't have so many veterans, and you go around that defense, you know, JTT, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Ty Hamilton, that's just the front 4. Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, Brandon Hancock, Caleb Downs has become a guy they rely on. Lathan Ransom, Denzel Burke. I mean, these guys have been around for 4 years, and they've won some big games. They lost to Georgia a couple years ago, lost to Michigan. And I just think there was a buy-in. And I think that's what made it so special. Is not just Ryan Day. You're happy for him and his staff, but those veteran players that said, guys, we can do something off of this loss. If he didn't have that veteran presence in the locker room, I don't know if they accomplished this. So I think those seniors deserve a ton of credit for pulling together and getting it done those last 4 games.
Hell yeah, and it was an honor to watch them from the sideline. Obviously, you get to call the games as well, but us just getting a chance to watch them.
How'd that go last night, dude?
Dude, it's so cool. So this leads me to my next question. Obviously, your son is on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Zach, who we obviously know, dog, good dude. Love his vibes, love his energy. He's on the team. He's now a national champion forever. AJ was holding back tears last night at the end of the game whenever we were on the sideline, and he tried to divert it, you know, classic AJ. Mm-hmm. He goes, yeah, what are you going to do next year now? You know, like that was like his, he was like, you know, but he was emotional for Ohio State to win that. I think he was so proud of that team. I think he is a massive fan of all those players because of what they had to deal with. I think he understands it. Being an Ohio guy, in Ohio, around all Ohio State fans, played there. Like, I think he gets it. So I think he was fighting back emotions as well. And then we saw you with Scott Van Pelt after the game and Chris Fowler in the booth where you got emotional as well last night. And obviously, anytime somebody gets emotional on television, that's going to be reacted to. But for us, I thought it was cool, man. I thought it was cool to watch you kind of let the world know how you actually feel, as opposed to just being these baby blue eyes in a suit calling a game. You're an Ohio guy. You're the former president of Ohio. Your kid's on that team. I really appreciated what you did. And did you know it was coming? When did you know you weren't going to be able to hold it in? And how do you feel after a situation like this happens on national television, Kirk?
I only know how I feel at the time. That's not something you think about or predict. It was almost like a perfect storm for me. My son had heart failure 2 years ago. They were talking about a heart replacement there for a while, and he had to medically retire. And Ryan Day, I think the gratitude I have for Ryan Day, putting his arms around Zach and keeping him involved. He's almost like a GA with what he was doing, and Ryan insisted on putting his arms around him, Chip Kelly, all these guys. So there was that side of it, looking down and seeing him in his jersey after, potentially facing, replacing your heart to that. I haven't really talked about this publicly, but Allie, my wife, faced some stuff. It's been a tough year for me behind the scenes. My wife got diagnosed with breast cancer. Ben dies. It was just it's a lot of emotion. And when you do what we do, you endure. You do your job. And I think what happened, couldn't predict it, but when they won, I was so happy for Ryan Day and those players that I just talked about, because of what they faced and all the stuff behind the scenes. It was almost like, I don't know, maybe a release of all that penned up stuff. And it just got the best of me. I'm an emotional guy in general, and when things touch my heart, I'm not good at talking, when that happens. And Scott came to me, I was already a little bit kind of dealing with it, and then he came to me first, and I was like, why do you got to come to me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was just real. It was just me talking. And I think, like I said, it was a perfect storm of emotions, of a lot of stuff going through my head, and looking down and seeing my son. My wife is in the booth with me. It was a lot, but just happy for those players. That's a lifelong memory. That fan base will never forget this run they put on, and you're just proud. You're happy for them. You're for what they faced at the end of that Michigan game. And I talked to these guys behind the scenes and know what they were going through and how hurt they were, and for them to endure that, overcome that. Man, what an example for sports. What an example for all of us in our walk in life to go through adversity and learn that, we grow more going through adversity. And they did as a collective unit. They overcame. And I just, whether it's Ohio State or any other team that happened to be Ohio State, it makes it that much more. But I'm a big sucker for team. And when I see people go through stuff and come together and overcome, sign me up. I just love it. And it happened to be my team. So, there was just a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing all that. Team sports are the greatest thing on earth for all the reasons you just laid out. And shout out to the 12-team playoff for being a little bit more forgiving to teams that potentially have a hiccup or a setback, because them getting a chance to kind of make up for the loss to Michigan for themselves, for their team, for their state is beautiful. Shout out to your wife, Allie, absolute badass. Obviously, we knew what was happening behind the scenes. Nobody talked about it publicly. Feels like everything that happened to you this year was a lot. And the way you were able to maintain professionalism on the microphone, both calling games, both Thursday and Saturday night, and on game day, while still bringing juice to all the game day meetings, and I assume all the other meetings you've had to do all year, I could see how going from one thing to the next while dealing with everything, and then a little finality almost to the season, and then you see the happiness of the people that have been close to you struggling. It's like, yeah, I can see how you get emotional, brother. So don't you ever feel bad about that. Yeah. And we love you, man. Know that. Oh, yeah. We're proud of you, buddy. Not an easy year, man. Not an easy year. I know your ass in the Bahamas right now, but not an easy year for you at all, man. Legit, you had to fight. There was a lot. Heavy. Your family did, you did. It was proud of you, man. You had a great year. You need to know that. Brother.
Well, that's why I always, having each unit I work with, Al Michaels and that group, we become so tight. They know a lot of the stuff that I went through. And, when you go through stuff as a team, whether it's sports or work, I'm sure you guys in that room go through some stuff, and when you share it, I feel like you get vulnerable with each other. It just creates a tight unit. And man, I cannot not say enough about Amazon and what they did for me behind the scenes, and the game day guys, you and Nick and Reese and Dez, our whole crew behind the scenes. Like I'm a part of three families. Like you're a part of this big strong family right here. You're part of the game day family. You're a part of the WWE family. You know better than anybody that you want to be 1,000% present. Like this is the only thing that matters to me, whether it's Thursday night or game day or Saturday night. And you get that, the wear and tear that takes, and yet you show up every single week like it's week one, and it's what we do. And no, we're not asking for anybody to feel sorry for ourselves. We sign up for this stuff, but it's not just, hey, show up and call a wrestling match. Hey, show up and call a game the way you guys do on ESPN2 with these big games. I mean, it's the prep, it's the grind, it's the love of it, and the finality, as you said so perfectly. I think it just, confetti comes down, you're looking down, seeing it. It's just a a release, I think, is the best way to describe that. And I just happened to be on national TV.
Yeah. Which has happened to you a lot in your life. Obviously, you've been a face and a voice for sports, college ball, for a very, very long time. Before that, he was doing radio 4 hours a day over there in Ohio. I mean, you're talking about being in the sports world long time, loving sport, loving team sport. We're proud of you, man. Obviously, what we do is a lot better than truck driving or laying bricks or anything like that. Those
people doing the real work.
Those are hard jobs. Yeah, military cops, EMT, firefighter, you name like real jobs.
Yeah.
But watching you have to go through the human side of everything while also being in a microscope and in a fishbowl, obviously lucky to do it, thankful to do it. You handled it very, very well. And I don't think anybody would have known all the shit you were going through when you were going through it. Because there was some news you got like 2 hours before we go live on game day. And it's like, are you going to be all right out here? And it's like, you locked in, you did your job for the people because you know it's not about you. It's about the sport. It's about the fans. So you being able to do that, I want to let you know, is admirable shit all year. Legit. And
appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate you too, man. Now, let's talk about some college ball because the season was awesome. We were so lucky to kind of be a part of it. Ty has a question for you as a former Catholic school kid.
Yeah, Herbie, on the other side last night, we all know that when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, he basically said, like, hey, I'm going to LSU because I don't believe I can win a national title at Notre Dame. Obviously, an unbelievable run. Last night ended up being closer, I think, than anyone thought it was going to be, at halftime or midway through the third quarter. But when you look at college football as a whole and where it's going, do you think that was Notre Dame's best chance to win a national title? Or do you think everything that they have in place with the boosters and the reach of that institution and university, like, will Notre Dame be able to get back to that point? Do you think Marcus Freeman will eventually win a national title?
Ty, I'm all in on what they've done. And I'll be incredibly honest and candid. I was raised in the 70s and 80s, and Notre Dame football was Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, whoever you want to say. I mean, they were a different level. Everybody tried to be Notre Dame in that era. And I think after the Lou Holtz era, as you know, Ty, so well, they've been searching. They've had some moments, when Brady was there with Charlie. I mean, they've had some good moments. But I don't know, and Brian Kelly had some moments. But I don't know if I've ever felt like this about Notre Dame. As far as since the Lou Holtz era, I think they're scratching the surface. I think he's only going to build a stronger roster. Kids are drawn to him. They want to play for him. They want to play for that school. I always kind of simplify it and say he's making Notre Dame cool, which sounds like whatever. But when you can reach 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and make a brand, kind of like nobody cares about Notre Dame, to all of a sudden the way he carries himself on the sideline, the way his teams represent themselves, I think this is the beginning. Now, you got to go find a quarterback, obviously. And I think C.J. Carr, by the way, is a super freaky, talented guy. Lloyd Carr's grandson. He's a freshman. They got Angeli, who stepped in against Penn State. But, guys, they're not going away. I just think that with the new 12-team playoff not being in a conference, they have favorable opportunities to get into the top 12. I just don't see that. I don't think this was, hey, they did it in 2012. See you later. Back to your corner. I don't see that, man. I see this as the beginning. And they learned a lot. I feel bad for the older players, but those younger guys going through that, fighting back from 31-7 when it looked like it was on its way to 45 or 52-7.
Fighting Irish.
And they just fought back, like they did all year. So I was pumped for them, and I think they're just they're not going, as long as he's there, they're not going anywhere.
Culture established, seemingly, for Notre Dame. Old guys will be able to pass it down to the young lads that come into that locker room. The quarterback is the only thing.
Yeah.
Quarterback's the only thing that matters. You got to have
telling you guys, C.J. Carr is a really, now, can he process? Can he play at that level? All the writing on the wall, which tell you they'll have a quarterback battle. We saw what Angeli could do, but I'm just telling you, C.J. Carr is he's a put the franchise on your back kind of quarterback.
Ooh,
coming out of high school. He's a very, very special talent. It'll be a great battle with he and Angeli. It'll be fun to see how that plays out. Is Al Golden going to be there? There's rumors he's going back to Cincinnati to be their coordinator. So, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen over the next week or two. But as long as Marcus Freeman is wearing those pants, I don't know if he's going Viore. I don't know what he's got going there.
Lulu.
But he is it Lulu?
Yeah,
whatever
like
he's got, he just looks and acts
maybe custom
the part. And parents want their kids. I know from being at St. X, it's a big school in Cincinnati, big Catholic school, and kids want to go and play for Marcus. He's catching 18-year-olds' attention. That roster is only going to get stronger. Now, it's maybe not as experienced, but it's only going to get stronger.
I've talked about this publicly a lot of times. I had zero friends that were private school kids or Catholic school kids, like basically throughout my entire life. You, though, were a Catholic school kid.
Yeah.
Kids in Catholic schools, Notre Dame is
that was a real thing. Like when I was in high school, it was
not just football players. We're talking about like Catholic school kids across the country.
Everything, but specifically in football. When I was in high school, that's when Brady Quinn was there, and like Notre Dame was good and competing for national titles. And like, yeah, if you were a stud football player at like a St. X, like a big Catholic high school, like you wanted to go play at Notre Dame. And then that kind of did die out a little bit, I think, when they kind of had their ebbs and flows. But if it's coming back, like that's a massive deal.
Catholic school kids, though, high school kids want to go to Notre Dame. Goal is to go to Notre Dame,
without a doubt,
as college. Like
a lot of kids, yeah.
Okay, that is because it's like that's like a
pipeline. Real quick, just one last thing. At 31-7, if that ends up being 52-7, and they have that 2012 experience at Alabama, it was almost like I said, just
TCU.
Hey guys, you made it. See you later. But the fact that they made that, they made it competitive, and I think, obviously they wanted that confetti to come down and be the winner, but I don't think they hurt themselves by stepping in there against that team the way they were playing those last 4 weeks, and to be down 31-7 with an offense, by the way, that they're not built to be down 31-7 and get back in it. And Greathouse starts making plays, and we saw Riley Leonard make plays with his legs, and he starts making plays with his arms. They got some momentum. Again, I don't think they hurt the brand in any way at all.
I agree. And Greathouse earned himself a lot of money. I don't know how much he's making, but these last couple games.
What a player.
He's been the guy. What a catch. What a throw by Riley, first of all.
Catch. What a throw, yeah.
Riley missed a couple last night. That was like what everybody said about Riley. He missed a couple. He overshot some. And it's like, this is what Riley Leonard is. But then he makes a couple throws, and you're like, this is what it could be, though. This is, like, I think a lot of people
it's all about his feet.
Yes.
These athletic guys that want to make plays, and they're so capable of making plays. If you watch him, and I'm sure Dan will break him down, but if you watch him and you watch his feet, sometimes those feet can get him in trouble. Sometimes it works for him, and other times, he's back there with his feet going, they're pointing over here, and then he sees a receiver break from his left to his right, and he doesn't have time to get his feet turned. Make a throw.
Brother, it's so obvious, too, isn't it? Isn't it like so obvious? They were saying this about Drake May, too, when he was coming out of college.
Yep.
It's like, hey, when we watch the guys that are good on Sundays, you see how all this shit, like even if they're extending plays, they're able to get their bot. This is a professional, and then this is what you are doing right now. We understand what you are trying to do. AI, we get it. Like everybody wants to do that. But the guys that you see are doing that have their base, their platform is in place for that whole thing.
So that's why, and Aaron could talk to you for hours on this, but that's why I don't think it's necessarily his arm. And I thought last night he went through his progressions. I thought he was, a lot of times in his career, one progression out because he can rely on those legs. And I think that's the biggest challenge these guys who are dual guys in college when they go up to the NFL. Yeah, you can make plays. That's why people were missing it. When I talked to you guys last year about Jaden Daniels is a pocket quarterback that can get out and go. But you know what he does a good job of? He doesn't look primary and then go rely on his feet. He'll go first, second, third, then he's going. And that is a fine line between these college guys who want to rely on the feet. And I don't think it's his arm. I think it's his feet slowing down, his brain slowing down, but he's got arm talent. It's not that. It's the feet. And, boy, how much fun is Jaden Daniels to watch right now?
Hold on. Okay, on that note, AP Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, last year around this time, it's probably more about a month from now, around the Combine time, you told us on this show, hey, Jaden Daniels is going to be from the
Army Navy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was Army Navy last year.
Army Navy says before any of this.
Kept reiterating that it was going to be Jaden Daniels. Now, we watched Will Howard all play out. We did every single Ohio State game, and he looks really, really good. He's projected right now third, fourth round. Do you think that he could be a guy that during this process is gonna jump up to a first round guy?
Yeah, I think so. I think going to a school like Ohio State, dealing with the pressure that he dealt with, it's amazing. The one thing I love about the NFL is getting in here and a chance to talk to coordinators, talking to GMs, learning so much about, these agents telling players, hey, you know what, don't play in a bowl game, you're hurt. Meanwhile, these GMs, these coaches, they want to see a guy that plays through an ankle. That's like stock up. These guys are being told stock down. It's stock up when you do that. Watching quarterbacks have to go through adversity like Will Howard losing to Michigan, throwing 2 picks, not just losing, but throwing 2 picks that potentially cost you the game where he slid against Oregon. And then having these moments, man, his rating definitely went up because if nothing else, you've seen how he acts under fire. We could talk XOs all you want. He works with Jeff Christensen, the quarterback coach with Patrick Mahomes. He works with so many guys, and I know he would tell you that this guy is legit. I think he helped himself with this run, playing and dealing with the pressure at Ohio State. We all know how challenging that is, and I think he's got the physical ability to, at the very least, get a look, get into a camp, show what he can do, but. Kid did a hell of a job. And I will say this about Jaden Daniels real quick. Sorry to go bounce back to the NFL.
Don't worry about it.
It's funny. Cliff Kingsbury was thrown in the trash can, when he left Arizona. Yep. It was like, Cliff, this is the NFL. Get the hell out of here. And then he goes to USC as an analyst. And then he gets hired by DQ to be the OC. And I don't hear anybody ripping on KK. I mean, he is a beast. He's doing a great job. Give him a lot of credit. It's easy to point to Jaden Daniels, and we should. But that system that they put around him, the receivers that they have, the talent that they have to work with. But don't forget Cliff Kingsbury and the job that he's done this year with that team.
We watched Will Howard complete one to Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State wide receiver. Here's Terry McLaurin, Ohio State wide receiver, going absolutely bonkers. Cliff Kingsbury title.
Emeka Egbuka is the next Terry McLaurin.
Okay. 202.
Emeka Egbuka
broke the record last night.
He will be the guy like Terry McLaurin. Like even now when you talk about Ohio State receivers, everyone's like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and JSN and Marvin Harrison. People forget about Terry and what he did. It reminds me so much of Emeka Egbuka. It's like he's always the other guy. Always the other guy on Ohio State's own roster, Marvin Harrison. Now the rookie, I'm telling you right now, he is going to go to the NFL and be a stud. He'll be a superstar. He's intelligent, competitive, warrior, not to mention uberly talented. Just be ready for that one. I gave you Jaden Daniels last year. Emeka Egbuka will be that guy next year.
Team guy, too. Team guy.
Yep.
Like obviously
locker room guy.
Has been put in positions now to be a diva, into bitch, into whine, because he is exactly what you're saying. Hasn't done it at all. He's only helped in this entire thing. It's like
blocks his ass off.
Yeah.
Blocks his ass like he wants to block. Like what? Not only are you on the back burner to Marvin Harrison, now this rookie, not only that, but you got a block on this play, and he's like, "I'll dig him. I'll dig that safety out. Give him to me. Let me go."
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that.
I love dudes like that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's good football. That's what that is. This Jeremiah Smith guy, though. I mean, it is absolutely absurd. Let's move out of Ohio State chat, though. Let's go into the NFL. D-Butch has a question for you.
Yeah, Kirk, you mentioned talking to these coordinators and coaches, and, the hottest name, the belle of the ball in this cycle was Ben Johnson, and he decided to go to Chicago. Coach Caleb Williams, that be his quarterback, that be his team. What's your thoughts on that marriage and how it's going to work and how he's going to get the Bears to that next step?
I think Caleb was put in an obvious tough situation this year with everything going on with the coaching staff, with the team. He sometimes, the way he talks with the media. I know sometimes I think people kind of their eyebrows raise a bit. There's another guy that it's never about his talent. Ben Johnson, to me, is in an interesting spot. And, Foxy, I'd love to hear your take on this. I heard you guys talking about it a little bit. He just left an organization that we have all looked at, kind of like we're talking about Marcus Freeman. We have all looked at Dan Campbell and just talked about biting kneecaps off and the energy that he brings. That is not who Ben Johnson is. So he's got to take what he's learned in Detroit. He's got to take what he's learned in Detroit, and then he's got to go to Chicago, obviously with his offensive system. But being a head coach isn't just about that offensive system. It's about standing in front of the entire room and sending a message every single day. And there's some guys that can do that. There's some guys that are just great coordinators that just can't be a head coach, no matter what they try. And I'm excited to see. We know what he can do with Caleb as far as the offense, the structure, the players. They got to get better around him. Got to get younger around him. The offensive line's got to get better. Obviously, that part's a given. But I'm talking about standing up in front of that team and not being Dan Campbell, being himself, but taking some of that Dan Campbell and some of that culture that's worked so well in Detroit, but making it your own. I think that's the biggest challenge. And an organization that is just cannot get out of their own way. What can he do to change that? We know you draw up plays. We got it. We know you're going to do a great job with Caleb. But what are you going to do to make this franchise start believing that we're going to start winning games?
Yeah.
That's the great challenge to me for him.
Not only the absence of MCDC, but also the way MCDC, Holmes, and Sheila Ford Hamp built that team through the offensive line.
Exactly.
Panay Sewell was the first draft pick, right, that they had?
Yep.
And then they have, obviously, Ragnow's the guy.
First rounder.
Then they go the other, like
Decker, first rounder. Zeitler, first rounder. That's 4 first rounders on the offensive line. That took so many years to build that, and that's where Ben Johnson's got to start, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a whole different foundation of a team that, like you say, he's going to do well with Caleb. We assume, but if Caleb doesn't have time to do any of the Jared Goff, that offense doesn't,
Exactly.
That's when Goff doesn't look
real
good.
Quick on Caleb. One thing on Caleb. Caleb, just his natural maturity. Another guy in middle school and high school and even college, best player on the field, can make a play at any moment that he has to. And they're like Mahomes. There are moments, look at Mahomes, 5, 6, 7, depending on the game. 7 or 8 times he's going to do a Patrick Mahomes play where Romo does a highlight on, looks like a shortstop or it's a no look. That's
diving
great.
forward.
But you know what what Mahomes does? He hits a single. He takes a layup. Like, he never misses a layup. Like, that's where Mahomes has got to get. It's not, holy shit, did you see that throw? It's not that. It's don't feel like you have to do that. Just hit the 10-yard out. Check it down. Scramble and get a first down for 5 yards on 3rd and 4. Like, be that guy. Be consistent with the boring crap. And then sprinkle in being a Superman. But don't feel like you got to be Superman every single play. So if he can get to that point, be patient, trust the guys around him, don't feel like he has to be a hero. That dude, freakish talent.
Yeah.
Freakish.
Yeah, we can't wait to watch and see what Ben Johnson does, and hopefully he does get a little bit of the MCDC culture. We're running up against a hard out. We appreciate your time. Peter with you? I think I heard Peter in the background a little bit.
Yeah, he's someone. He's been running around here. Let me see.
What?
Oh, here he is.
Hey, good season, Pete.
Great work.
Good work this season, Pete. Good work down there, Peter. You did great. He's a strong, strapping lad, that Peter. Mm-hmm. Good tongue on that dog.
Good pup.
Big old
Good tongue on
He's
that
got
dog.
big tongue. He's got
What's that?
He's a strong big dude.
Hey, watch it. We're not getting into that.
He's got a lot of big things, doesn't he?
Peter deserves some respect. We don't need to be talking about him like he's an OnlyFans model. Anyway, Peter, way to go, Bob. Great season. Herbie, to you and yours, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Enjoy yourself.
Love you guys, man. Love you boys.
We love you too.
Have a great rest of the season with the NFL. We'll talk soon.
Great season out of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah.